All right, today we're going to break down a pretty big deal coming out of the White House, Executive Order 14291. This order creates a whole new group called the Religious Liberty Commission. So what is it, why now, and what's it actually supposed to do? Let's get into it. Okay, so this all kicked off on May 1st, 2025. That's the day the White House dropped this new directive. And you really got to understand, this isn't some polite suggestion. Nope, this is an order, and it carries the full weight of the law for the federal government. So that brings up a good question. What even is an executive order? Well, think of it as a formal command from the president. It's actually one of the most powerful tools they have. It lets them manage how the federal government operates and, get this, basically create policy without having to go through the whole process of passing a law in Congress.
In the main event of this particular order, it's all about creating this brand new federal body, the Religious Liberty Commission. Which, of course, leads to the big question, why? Why create this commission and why right now? Well, the order itself actually lays out the official thinking behind it.
So let's start with the stated purpose. The document is pretty clear about its reasoning in the section on policy goals.
Essentially, the order presents this commission as a response to what it calls emerging threats, and it gets specific. We're talking about things like, infringements on conscience protections, roadblocks for religious schools, even threats to the funding and tax status of faith-based groups, and cases where they might be excluded from government programs.
And to really drive home this sense of urgency, the order pulls out a pretty heavy-hitting quote from Ronald Reagan. This isn't just for show. It's a very deliberate choice to frame the commission's work as something vital, like defending a core American freedom, not just another bureaucratic policy tweak.
Okay, so that's the why, at least according to the order itself. Now let's pivot to the who. Who exactly is going to be sitting on this new commission?
Right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of who's on this thing.
The whole thing is basically set up in three parts. First, you've got the main group, up to 14 people appointed directly by the president. Then they're joined by 3 ex officio members. That's just a fancy way of saying they're on the commission because of their day jobs. In this case, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and the President's Domestic Policy Advisor. And finally, there are 3 advisory boards to give expert advice made up of religious leaders, lay leaders, and legal eagles.
Okay, so that's the lineup. We know who's on the team, but what's their actual job? What is this commission supposed to do?
Well, the order lays out a pretty clear mission for them, with one main job and a secondary role.
So here's the headline. Their number one goal, their primary mission, is to produce a massive, comprehensive report. This thing is meant to be a total deep dive on the state of religious liberty in America right now. And when I say deep dive, I mean it. The report is supposed to cover a huge range of topics. We're talking about everything from the First Amendment rights of religious leaders to conscience protections in healthcare, parents' rights in education, voluntary prayer in public schools, this issue of debanking, where religious groups might be denied financial services, and even looking into physical attacks on houses of worship. It's a lot.
But it's not just about the report. They have a second really important job. They're also supposed to act as direct advisors to the White House. That means recommending specific policy changes, whether it's something the president can do on their own or something that needs a new law from Congress.
So that brings us to the home stretch. What happens next? And the order is super specific about the timeline here.
Yeah, this isn't some committee that's going to go on forever. It has a very clear shelf life. It gets started in May 2025, and it has a hard deadline. That big report we talked about is due on July 4th, 2026. And on that day, poof, the commission is done.
And that date? July 4th? Totally not a coincidence. The order spells it out. That date was picked specifically because it's the 250th anniversary of American independence. It's a way of tying the whole project to this huge historical moment.
So this all leaves us with the big, lingering question, right? You have this commission with a clear mission to create a major report and advise the president. It's set up to have a real impact. So how might its findings actually influence the future of religious liberty policy here in the U.S.? That's really the multi-million-dollar question and what everyone's going to be watching for.